But then you're getting to that point where you're getting to the end of the first degree, which is the Bachelor of Architecture, 3 years full-time, and you're starting to talk to the counsellors and that at uni about, well, where you're going to work and how you're going to get those hours up. And that's where I said, well, I'm not ready yet to go into an office. So I was like, well, you know, I've got to get that experience. And I said, well, what if my experience was credited to some building works? So then I spoke to Dad, and he'd bought a house in a real dump in Kelvin Grove, which a few of my mates and I lived in for a while, and he was always talking about renovating it. And then I talked Dad into saying, well, you know, this is time now. I should be going to an office to get some experience, but I want to spend a year and a half building on the tools, putting into practice what I've learnt, and I've spoken to the university and they're happy to credit that. And he goes, right, well, let's do that. So then we embarked on that, whereby one of Dad's mates, who's a builder, worked with him under his licence, and pretty much 7 days a week, just Excel, like, learnt how to build. They were liking to see that, because really when you do the experience in the office, yeah, you're filling out bits of what you're learning in a either an assistant role or an actual hands-on role. So I just went about that a different way again. But then I think I did that for 2 years. And then I even said, I've got to go and see what this working in an office bit is like, because I'm going to have to do it at some stage. And that's where it came about. A job popped up with Peddle Thorpe, which is and still, you know, a very well-known architectural firm in the city, gold AMP building, level 29, me with a shirt and collar on, slacks and leather shoes. It didn't last long, but when I was in there, like, I was only in there for maybe 3 or 4 months. Got to work on some big projects and met people and sort of got a feel for it, to the point where I was like, that's not the firm for me. A bit too corporate. I mean, the commuting into town must be there at night, like this real like it was robotic. And that's not me. Like, there was no autonomy about it. It was no, it wasn't spontaneous, and I knew what I was doing each day, and I wasn't looking forward to it. I like to be thinking outside, and I just felt, I don't think they'll get the best out of me, and I don't think that's best me spending my time there. However, the culture and the people there was fantastic, and I thought, yeah, okay, I'm in the happy field, just not in the right spot. So but as well, and probably in reflection, some of the guys that I worked with there, and the industry's pretty small. Wayne Petrie, one of the directors there, as it turns out, 10 years later, I ended up working with him again in Mirvac, and then he became the president of the institute, and so on and so on. So it's like, you still remember them, and they still make up the fabric of kind of where you are now, I guess, at the time. So, but that was my only real big foray into a big firm, and to realise that maybe wasn't for me. I had a mate who was working at Planet Architects. Now, Planet at the time, they are now Alivo Architects, quite a large firm, and I still keep in contact with the 3 directors there. They started Planet as the 3 main directors from a bigger firm called Greenway. They just walked out one day for whatever reason. They started their own thing under the house of one of the directors, and they hired my mate, who I was going to uni with, and they just started to gather work and needed someone else. So he rang me and he's like, look, we need someone else over here. So yeah, I'm like, cool, I'm under someone's house working on cool little projects for 3 pretty big hitters with a mate. With, what was it? One of the guys, the funniest, like, he had his kids running around in the house. It was cool. It was like, it was family. It was all very, it was emotional, but yet we were getting things done. You know, there was days where we'd be under the house and we'd be looking out, and there'd be like water dripping through the deck. And it was the director's kid having a wee on the deck coming through, and it was like, yeah, now I'm in my happy place. But it was all a bit more real and less corporate, yet we were still doing projects that clearly meant something. We were getting paid well, we were doing great architecture, and I felt this is the scale of where kind of I think I need to be.